For most of human history, population growth was slow and precarious. High birth rates were balanced by equally high death rates. However, the 20th century witnessed an unprecedented population explosion. Advances in medicine, sanitation, and agriculture dramatically reduced death rates, particularly among children. This led to a period of rapid population growth, particularly in developing nations. Global population doubled in just a few decades, raising concerns about overpopulation and resource scarcity. However, by the late 20th century, a new trend emerged: declining birth rates. Starting in developed countries and gradually spreading worldwide, birth rates began to fall. Women were having fewer children, leading to a decline in the total fertility rate, the average number of children per woman. While a total fertility rate of 2.1 is considered replacement level, needed to maintain a stable population, many countries now have total fertility rates well below this threshold. Europe, Japan, and South Korea are facing particularly low birth rates, with some dipping below 1.5 children per woman. This global trend has profound implications for the future of humanity. The decline in birth rates can be attributed to a complex interplay of factors. Economic prosperity plays a role, as children are seen as less of an economic necessity and more of an economic investment in today's world. Higher living standards and the rising costs of education and childcare make having a large family less appealing. Social change is another significant driver. Increased access to education and employment opportunities for women has led many to delay marriage and childbearing. Urbanization also contributes, as city living often means smaller living spaces and less need for large families. The most immediate consequence of sustained low birth rates is population aging. With fewer children being born, the proportion of older adults in society increases, leading to a shrinking workforce and increased strain on social security and healthcare systems. This can stifle economic growth and innovation. Furthermore, a shrinking population can lead to labor shortages, reduced consumer demand, and a general economic slowdown. Socially, it can result in a loss of dynamism and cultural vibrancy as societies become increasingly dominated by older generations. Section 5. Can we reverse the trend? Policy options and their challenges. Governments are increasingly concerned about the implications of declining birth rates and are exploring various policy options to encourage higher fertility. These include financial incentives such as child allowances and tax breaks for families, as well as investments in childcare infrastructure to ease the burden on working parents. However, such policies often face challenges. Financial incentives alone may not be sufficient to offset the high costs of raising children in many developed countries. Moreover, cultural and societal shifts towards smaller families are deeply ingrained and may not be easily swayed by government intervention. Section 6. The demographic time bomb myth or reality. The idea of a demographic time bomb caused by low birth rates has been a topic of much debate. While there are undoubtedly challenges associated with an aging population, some argue that fears of a demographic implosion are overblown. They point to the potential for technological advancements and increased automation to offset the economic impacts of a shrinking workforce. Furthermore, they argue that a slower growing or even declining population could have environmental benefits, reducing pressure on resources and ecosystems. The debate over the optimal population size and its implications for human well-being is likely to continue. Section 7. Adapting to a future with fewer people. Regardless of whether low birth rates are a crisis or an opportunity, societies must adapt to the reality of a future with fewer people. This requires rethinking our social contracts, economic models, and even our definitions of progress. Investing in education and lifelong learning becomes crucial in a future with a smaller workforce. We may also need to reconsider our attitudes towards immigration, which could help mitigate the economic impacts of population decline. Ultimately, adapting to a future with fewer people demands flexibility, innovation, and a willingness to challenge long-held assumptions. Section 8. Rethinking progress in the 21st century. The trend of declining birth rates prompts us to reconsider what constitutes progress in the 21st century. For decades, economic growth and material prosperity were seen as the primary indicators of societal well-being. However, in a world grappling with climate change, resource depletion, and the social consequences of demographic shifts, we need a more nuanced understanding of progress. Perhaps true progress lies in finding ways to thrive within the limits of our planet, prioritizing well-being, sustainability, and social equity alongside economic growth. Declining birth rates while presenting challenges could also offer an opportunity to create a more balanced and sustainable future. Section 9. Conclusion. Towards a sustainable future. The decline in global birth rates is a complex phenomenon with far-reaching consequences. While it is difficult to predict the future with certainty, one thing is clear: we are entering uncharted demographic territory. Navigating this new landscape will require careful consideration, innovative solutions, and a willingness to adapt to changing realities. By embracing a more holistic definition of progress that encompasses social, environmental, and economic well-being, we can strive to create a future that is both prosperous and sustainable for generations to come.